for you to dominate the way you did, because a lot of people had that like a pick'em fight. Like a lot of people didn't know how to call it, but you just ran that fight. Just the way you controlled, the way you switched things up, the way you controlled the pace of the fight, the defense, your defense was on point. Those hooks that you were landing in close were magnificent.
You know, he said that he ruined his career with that. Maybe he's blaming that for his loss against Crawford. I don't know, but he accomplished a lot.
Joe Rogan just humiliated Errol Spence by showing nothing but admiration for Terence Crawford's incredible performance, calling the fight magnificent and brilliant. Rogan highlighted how Crawford dominated in one of the most watched mainstream boxing events in years. He pointed out how even casual fans were tuned in and witnessed Crawford prove beyond any doubt that he's the #1 pound-for-pound fighter on the planet. With genuine respect in his voice, Rogan made it clear that Crawford's skill level is unmatched without even naming Spence in a critical way. Rogan's praise for Crawford alone was enough to overshadow any previous disrespect. It was a subtle but clear way of putting Spence in his place while elevating Crawford to legendary status. If you liked this video, please subscribe, punch Vista, and click the bell icon for more latest and interesting videos.
Of the year.
Cracker of the year, that's right.
Yeah, I try to use X as a good platform to bring laughter, bringing humor back and comedy, making people feel good.
Well, you can get wild.
Yeah, I get a little wild sometimes.
You can get wild on X.
Yeah, you could get a little wild on X, but I try to.
Joe Rogan just exposed the gap between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford in a way that left no room for debate in his words. While Spence is a great fighter, Crawford is an all-time great, making it clear that there are levels to this game, and Crawford is on top. Rogan emphasized how impressive it was to see level boxer like Spence face someone operating on a completely different tier when he said Crawford is at the top of the mountain. It was a powerful statement that underlined just how dominant Crawford's performance truly was. Rogan didn't need to tear Spence down. He simply lifted Crawford up so high that the difference became undeniable by highlighting Crawford's accomplishments and elite skill set. Rogan quietly shut down all the doubts and dismissals that came before the fight. It was a masterclass in giving credit where it's due, and in doing so, Spence's critiques were left in the dust.
Well, the wise people picked you as a favorite, just based on your accomplishments. It's not like Errol Spence wasn't a great fighter. He's a great fighter, but it's so interesting when you watch a great fighter against what I believe is an all-time great. It's just that there's just levels upon levels upon levels upon levels. And right now, you're at the top of the mountain.
yes. And I'm enjoying it.
Beautiful. You deserve it. That's when you planned for that fight, you knew that you were probably going to fight him. Like for the last few years, it was something that was on the table.
But not really. There was a point in time where I was like, I shifted gears and I shifted my mind off of Errol Spence because I didn't feel like the fight was going to happen.
Errol Spence is still talking as if Terence Crawford hasn't already solidified his greatness by saying that if Crawford wants to be great, he should take on the biggest challenges like fighting Canelo Alvarez. Spence is acting as if Crawford still has something to prove. It's almost like he's downplaying the fact that Crawford already dominated him in their fight. Spence making a rematch conditional on Crawford fighting Canelo first adds to this narrative, as if Crawford isn't already at the pinnacle of boxing. This kind of talk makes it seem like Spence is shifting the goalposts before their fight. Crawford was his biggest challenge. The man he had to beat to prove who was the best comes off as a way to avoid acknowledging just how badly Crawford outclassed him instead of admitting Crawford is the best. Right now, Spence is talking about future challenges, as if Crawford still has something to chase in reality. The only chase happening is Spence trying to catch up to Crawford.
It could happen. Why not? If Crawford want to challenge himself to be great, let him try to be great, So, I'm with it. So, I'll be going for Bud. If he fight Canelo, I'll be going for him. I don't know if he gonna win or lose, but I definitely be going for Crawford. I think if anybody can pull it off, he can pull it off. Yeah. He's chasing greatness, so why not? Canelo came up to 175 and all that and Kovalev and fought the other guy too. So I mean, if he can do it, he started at 147. So I mean, if he's doing it, why can't Crawford do it?
Mikey Garcia's comments about Errol Spence's drinking habits raised serious questions about Spence's dedication to the sport. Garcia makes it clear that any fighter who wants to reach their full potential must take care of their body. No substances, no late-night partying. He emphasizes that without full dedication, a fighter is only limiting their abilities. Growth and potential. Spence's struggles with drinking have been no secret. After his 2019 car accident, which was caused by drunk driving, many wondered if he would return to the same level of competition. While he managed to come back and win fights, there were always concerns about how his lifestyle might affect his longevity in boxing now. With his devastating loss to Terence Crawford, it seems like Spence himself is acknowledging that drinking may have played a role in his downfall.
I was never drinking. I was never out there. You gotta take care of your body. You gotta be healthy. You gotta fucking train. You gotta be eating right. No alcohol, no drugs. Yeah, I agree with all that. We always tell all the fighters, when you're fighting, you gotta fucking be dedicated. Can't be staying up late, partying, fucking drinking. No, you gotta dedicate yourself, bro. If you don't dedicate yourself like that, then you're only limiting your abilities, you're limiting your growth, you're limiting your potential.
And your window of opportunity.
So you got to take advantage while you're there, dedicate 100%. So I agree with all that. Now, I don't know what's going on with him. He said that he ruined his career with that.
Garcia points out that Spence has accomplished a lot. But if Spence is now saying he ruined his career because of drinking, it suggests that he realizes the damage he has done to himself. The fact that Spence may have been drinking even before fights, or at least between training camps, could explain why he didn't look like the same fighter against Crawford. Histamine, reflexes, and endurance weren't there, and if drinking played a part in that, then he has no one to blame but himself. Spence's biggest opponent may not have been Crawford. It may have been his own lack of discipline.
What's going on with him? He said that he ruined his career with that. Maybe he's blaming that for his loss against Crawford. I don't know, but he accomplished a lot prior to that.
Right.
So I don't know how much more.
The drinking was like a factor.
Or maybe now he just realized that, hey, it's not fucking good. I was drinking a lot, before the fights, in between fights, or maybe after the fight, after the Crawford fight, I've been drinking way too much. I ignored my responsibility. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
Roy Jones Jr. emphasizes Terence Crawford's remarkable skill set, acknowledging his status as a champion with exceptional abilities across various facets of boxing. He highlights Crawford's versatility. Notably, his capacity to seamlessly switch between orthodox and southpaw stances, and his overall boxing IQ. Jones suggests that Crawford's potential extends beyond his current weight class, particularly in considering a move to higher divisions, such as a potential bout with Canelo Alvarez. Jones views this progression as logical given Crawford's proven excellence. However, when discussing a potential rematch between Crawford and Errol Spence Jr., Jones stresses the importance of Spence's physical recovery. He notes that Spence's struggles with weight gain and other issues should be addressed before contemplating air match, indicating that rushing into a second fight could undermine the quality of the contest. Jones proposes that it would be more prudent for Spence to focus on regaining his full physical form before pursuing another bout with Crawford, suggesting the timing is crucial for both fighters. Jones presents two possible pathways for Crawford's career moving forward. One option is for Crawford to continue progressing in weight classes, with Jones pointing out that Crawford himself has indicated 154 pounds as his upper limit. Alternatively, Jones suggests that Crawford could decide to retire on top after completing a few more significant challenges, such as a fight with Canelo. In this light, Jones implies that Crawford has earned the right to retire whenever he feels it is the right time. Given his achievements in the sport, ultimately Jones ranks Crawford among the all-time greats of this era, recognizing his exceptional talents and accomplishments in the boxing world.
Do you do the rematch and then go for other fights, or do you think this is kind of like the cherry on top, and after this he should more or less retire on top?
Bud has two options. A, he can continue going up in weight, see how far he can go. I think he said already 54 is his max. So he could campaign that going to 54, maybe doing a rematch, or like I said, let Errol get himself back together first when it makes more sense, then do a rematch. You understand me? So for me, to let Errol get himself together first, then do a rematch is much better. To fight him right now, it's not good because, like I said, just the weight gain was not the only problem. So.
In their initial bout on July 29th, 2023, Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. both successfully made the 147 lb. Welterweight limit with Spence weighing in at 147 lbs and Crawford at 146.75 lbs. Crawford won the fight by a 9th-round technical knockout, becoming the first male boxer in the four-belt era to achieve undisputed championship status in 2 weight divisions regarding a potential rematch. Showtime's Stephen Espinosa has addressed concerns about weight differences. He emphasized that while weight should not be an obstacle, it's crucial to consider the fighter's health and future well-being. Espinosa raised questions about whether competing at 147 lbs is in Spence's best interest, given his previous eye injury and past car accident. He suggested that moving up to the 154 lb light middleweight division might be a more suitable option for Spence. In summary, while weight differences are generally not prohibitive in boxing, Espinosa highlighted that in cases like Crawford and Spence, where significant disparities exist, it's essential to prioritize the fighter's health and career longevity when determining the appropriate weight class for a potential rematch.
This is true. Like, I read that Crawford can choose the weight. Is that accurate?
Not completely. Not completely. I mean, there are some other parameters I don't want to get into, but weight shouldn't be, if there's a legitimate difference, you know, one guy is legitimately going to 154, one guy is legitimately staying at 47, then, you know, that's a reason a fight can't be made. But weight can't be used as an excuse and sort of say, I don't feel like it. Like, I'll go up to for this guy, but not another guy. So, you know, that's sort of the spirit. The language is very, you know, more precise and very definitive. But the concept is, out of fairness, is, let's not be selective. You know, there are some conditions in which, you know, it wouldn't happen. I mean, weight is one thing. If they can't agree on weight, you know, that's it. But, you know, money is set, all the other parameters are set. You know, weight is one of the few examples where, you know, that could be the obstacle.
Terence Crawford's dominant performance over Errol Spence Jr. in their highly anticipated bout solidified his position as one of the greatest boxers of his era. Spence, an undefeated and undisputed champion, was expected to provide a tough challenge, but Crawford's clinical dismantling of him in the ring showcased not only his extraordinary boxing skills, but also his ability to handle the most high-pressure situations with ease. This victory earned Crawford immense respect from boxing insiders and fans alike, affirming his place among the elite. However, despite his accomplishments, in the ring, Crawford's recent actions and comments have led to a shift in perception regarding his character following his victory over Spence. Some of his remarks and behavior after the fight have drawn criticism, particularly his lack of acknowledgement towards Spence and his team in the immediate aftermath. In contrast to many champions who show respect to their opponents, Crawford's actions seem to focus more on asserting his superiority rather than showing humility. This has led some to question whether his confidence is bordering on arrogance, with critics suggesting that his sportsmanship could use improvement while Crawford's talent is beyond reproach. The way he carries himself outside the ring now faces scrutiny. Fans and analysts alike are torn between his undeniable ability and his sometimes controversial demeanor, raising the question of whether a champion's legacy is shaped more by his in-ring achievements or by his conduct as a representative of the sport.
That's dope, man.
And I really appreciate you just being a regular dude who's very, 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 very skilled at something. I'm glad you're getting your flowers, and I hope the biggest of bags come your way in these next few years with how things play out for you, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Because you earned
bro.
it. You earned it, bro.
And you gave us, listen, entertainment. You know what I mean? From beginning to end, it was a real display. So we appreciate you taking time, bro.
Hey, I appreciate y'all having me, man. I appreciate it.
Before we go, how soon will we get the rematch? Do you know that calendar? You know how that calendar is going to play out?
Probably, if it happened, it'd probably be the end of this year.
That's soon.
Yeah.
Like a December situation, probably, something like that?
Yeah.
There you
All
go.
right.
Terence Bud Crawford, the undisputed welterweight champion of the world.
Nice Howard Cosell there, bro.
Errol Spence Jr.'s first fight with Terence Crawford on July 29, 2023, ended in a dominant victory for Crawford, who claimed the undisputed welterweight title. While Crawford's performance earned him widespread acclaim, the fight was not without consequences for Spence during the bout. Spence suffered significant physical damage, particularly to his eye, which led to concerns over his health and well-being. This injury, combined with Spence's past history of a severe car accident, required him to take time off for proper recovery. As a result, the anticipated rematch between the two fighters has not happened immediately, with many fans and analysts eagerly awaiting Spence's return to full strength. Crawford, having decisively won the first encounter, has expressed willingness to fight Spence again, but only once Spence is fully healed and ready for the challenge. Given the intensity of the first bout, the importance of a well-prepared and fully recovered Spence for the rematch cannot be overstated. Boxing enthusiasts worldwide are desperate to see the rematch unfold, as the first fight left many questions unanswered regarding what Spence could do with a fully healthy body. The desire for the rematch is compounded by the idea that with Spence's recovery, the fight could be more competitive and showcase both fighters at their peak. For now, fans must wait, but the anticipation continues to build as the potential for an even greater showdown remains.
The fact that Spence, right away, he's like, rematch 54. You know, that tells me he can't make 47 anymore. He doesn't care about the titles. He don't care about undisputed. He's just trying to win at this point, you know, and that just tells me there's no chance that he's making 47 because he didn't even care about the titles anymore. We just said rematch 154. Let's do it. Like, he didn't mention undisputed. He didn't mention championships. He didn't mention like Canelo. I know Canelo said, hey, he beat me at 75. I want to beat him at 75. Spence was like, fuck that, 54, you know. So yeah, that tells me a lot. But not surprised. I am surprised it's in December. I don't know if that's accurate or true, or if that's actually going to happen. But I don't think that's enough time for Spence to recover.
While the majority of boxing fans eagerly await a rematch between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr., there is a growing contingent of people who believe that a second fight might not be in the best interest of the sport, particularly for Spence. After their first matchup, which ended in a lopsided victory for Crawford, Spence's career took a significant blow both physically and mentally. The brutal beating Spence took in the ring raised serious concerns about his health, especially considering his history with a devastating car accident. His injuries from the fight, particularly the damage to his eye, left many questioning whether continuing to compete at the highest level was wise. Some critics argue that a rematch could do more harm than good for Spence. They fear that another loss or further physical damage could jeopardize his long-term health and, by extension, his legacy. Boxing is a brutal sport, and repeated hits to the head can have lasting consequences, especially for a fighter like Spence, who has already faced significant challenges in his career. The first fight was so one-sided that some believe a second meeting would only expose Spence to unnecessary risk, with the potential to further diminish his career. There is also the concern that such a fight could tarnish the reputations of both fighters if Spence enters the ring underprepared or is unable to recover fully. The rematch might not live up to the expectations set by the first fight. Ultimately, while many want to see the rematch, it's crucial that both fighters are in a position to give their best, and for some that may not mean rushing into a second bout. The decision of whether the rematch happens will.
Crawford getting him up out of here one more time. Why do we want to see that? I mean, that's you know, I think it's bad for boxing. If he really, if he does the same thing again, he puts it on Spence again like that. I mean, you almost ruin it could almost ruin a career. You know, you taking two things like that. You know,
brutal beatdowns.
Yeah.
I can see that.
You know what I mean?
Spence doesn't want that work again.
Ultimately depend on how Spence recovers and whether both sides believe it is in their best interests. That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next.